Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Climate Emergency Centre webinar where we try and explore some of the cutting edge things that are going on around the world. And tonight we've got a real treat for you. We have our lovely friend Batuhan Bintas, who is the founder of Imaginatrix. And we are going to follow the white cyber rabbit down into the Imaginatrix tonight. The topic is empowering imagination through cyberspace. And Batuhan has been working on some really incredible cutting edge topics and subjects and working to educate kids in about 4,000 schools about the cutting edge of technology. So over to you, Batuhan. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. Over.
Thank you, Phoenix, and thank you for offering this opportunity. And thank you everyone for coming. It's been really, really great meeting you all. And I really look forward to sharing today's journey with you. I'm going to be taking you on a journey where we explore a little bit of history about the ancient Egypt. Then we're gonna look into my past, which is going to give you an idea of who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then I'm going to present you 3 education projects that I'm working on, all based on empowering imagination by using technology. Some of them are in the city schools, some of them are in refugee camps, and some of them are, like Phoenix said, on an online education platform that is reaching out to 4,000 schools. And then we're going to end with some hopeful thoughts about the future. So let's begin. Let me find my screen. Okay, where can I share sound, share
the bottom down the bottom, share screen, green one.
Okay, 1 second. Yes, found it.
Yeah, share screen at the bottom. Yep.
Are you all seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Are you all seeing the empowering imagination through cyberspace?
Yep, we're seeing it as well as your web pages. I don't know if you can make it big to present.
Okay. Okay. Now, all good, right? So today's talk name is Empowering Imagination Through Cyberspace. How technology can be used how technology can be used to actually expand imagination and inspire imagination. Hello?
I'm just going to mute a couple of people. Maybe that's something. Keep going.
Yeah, and how imagination can be empowered through cyberspace. So before we dive into the subject, I would like to start by doing a little bit of brain gymnastic. So then we can all warm up a little bit about the journey. So does any of you here know the story of the magical orbs in ancient Egypt? Has anyone ever heard about these magical orbs that existed in the ancient Egypt? Maybe you can write in the chat and maybe we can see. Phoenix, have you heard about these ancient orbs in Egypt?
I know that in some of them they didn't have any any kind of like black soot from using candles, and there's something that looked like a light bulb. But it's kind of long and thin. I'm not sure on the orb bit exactly.
Anyone else know these orbs that were found in Egypt?
Is this an image to scale? Are they this size or?
Yeah, it was so these orbs were found in Egypt, and the legend talks that about the time when in ancient Egypt every citizen had a personal orb that was used for various things. So one orb served many different things, and this orb was capable of transforming its visuals and project show of different things each time. So almost like as if it had some sort of like user interface. And in ancient Egypt, this orb was used to, communicate. It will allow people in ancient Egypt to communicate with each other, and because every citizen had a, special orb for themselves, and some even would wear this special orb. And this orb will also bring those separated by distance closer to each other almost like, you know, it will allow them to have a form of telepathy, a form that a means of communication that allow them to transfer their thoughts to the other side of the planet and communicate with loved ones that are separated by distance. And Egyptians will also use this orb to find out about what's happening in their civilization. You know, it's almost like, you know, reading the news. So does this orb like ring any bell in your head? No.
Is it a mobile phone? But you've used it
exactly. Yeah.
Teaching.
So what I really love doing is, like, you know, when you actually twist the story of you know, how when you actually put the same thing, you know, with like a mobile phone, but it use another metaphor and then mention, you know, ancient Egypt, everything starts, you know, sounding really magical. But we actually have this magical orb. This orb was not how they found. I absolutely made up the story to catch your attention. This just shows us that, like, you know, we actually have this orb. In fact, we are looking at one of those orbs. You know, every single one of us has this magical devices, be it a mobile phone, be it a computer that has an interface, that has pixels, that can transform itself and then become become the thing that we wish to see. Just 1 second, I need to just become the thing that we wish to see. So, and yet what really fascinates me is that, like, in the 21st century, you know, we are not seeing the magic that we are surrounded by. You know, like, we have discovered a new dimension that we are you know, communicating with on a daily basis. Almost like this dimension has been, you know, integrated into the evolution of our species. We don't call it a dimension, but we call it the internet. Then we have devices that allow us to interact with dimension, you know, like computers, mobile phones. We get to, you know, we have a form of digital telepathy. Telepathy, by definition, is communication of two minds that are separate by distance. So in this case, you know, we have a form of telepathy. We don't call it a form of telepathy, but we call it WhatsApp, Instagram. These platforms and these devices are actually absolute mind-bending digital magic tools. And in fact, one of my favorite authors, Arthur C. Clarke, said that any sufficient advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And in my work, I feel that this is my duty to show not only to children, but also, you know, to the adults and to the world. So now a little bit about me. I was an absolutely, how do you call it? I was an absolutely, why is this doing that? I was an extremely naughty kid. So, like, I had like two things that in my childhood that you know, I still carry as my personality. I was an extremely naughty kid. I still am. And I was expelled from 2 kindergartens at age 5, which I'm really proud of. And I was introduced to computers at age 3, and I grew up programming coding thanks to my lovely parents. The computer that I was using was called Compaq 95, and the game that I played, the Commander Keen, needed you to write / start to open the game. And my parents apparently used to come and write that. And one day, apparently, I told my parents that they should teach me how to do it. And they did so. And then that was my introduction to computers. And other things that, like, you know, impacted me in my upbringing that actually inspired me to become who I am and do what I'm doing was that I was expelled. So from the 3rd kindergarten onwards, primary school, secondary school, I was expelled from every single classroom. And I spent literally my whole childhood in the school hallways on my own and alone, you know, 45 minutes every single class on my own in the hallways. And then I got deported from Denmark in the middle of my studies at age 19, which back then was an incredibly traumatizing experience for a 19-year-old. But later on, right now, it inspired me to come up with a project which I will be sharing with you shortly. So how these events impacted my consciousness? So I spent my childhood literally playing with my imagination in the hallways, in the empty hallways of school while everyone was in the class. I remember having this, there was this board, there was this chair that every time I would get kicked out from the classroom, it was long enough so I could imagine that it was my surfing board. I will jump on it and literally I will surf in the, the imaginative waves of on the waves of imagination in these hallways of the schools. Literally, I will see this image. And on the other hand, getting kicked out from Denmark was traumatizing, but my school in Denmark allowed me to continue my education online. So I did online education before it was cool. I did this back in 2012, and which then allowed me. I spent 3 months in Turkey connecting to my digital school on the internet. And I back then I was also interested in expanding my consciousness via different psychedelic methods. So I started questioning heavily the connection, the complex between the mind and the body, because I was clear that my body was not allowed into Denmark because of the political bureaucracy between Turkey and Denmark. However, my mind could trespass the borders and nonsense bureaucracies and be in the class with the empowerment of the technology through the internet. So that was actually an incredible mind-bending experience for me, and I'm really grateful for getting deported. So after that, actually during that time when I got kicked out from Denmark, I actually opened my hands and I wished for that God would give me, or God, universe, however you want to name it, would give me opportunity to show this power of technology to people who are in need. And right now, with one of the projects that I'm working on, is called Virtual Bridges. So together with a global NGO called Artolution, we received funding and support from United Nations, and we are taking technology education and virtual reality to 4 refugee camps across the planet. And we are using the power of VR to connect kids in refugee camps and communicate with each other, but also connect with the kids in primary schools, in the city schools. So this is exactly similar to I experience what is to be like a refugee, but from a really way more softer through a software experience. But this is the project that helps me to help refugees, because when you're a refugee, you cannot leave the refugee camp unless you get your paperwork sorted. But by using the power of technology, we help them expand their mind outside of the class, outside of the refugee camp. And then my other experience of getting kicked out from the classroom and being in the school hallways and constantly imagining things in the school hallways inspired me to create Imaginatrix, School of Cyberspace, which I have been working on building with Etienne, who is in the call as well. So I'm now going to first run you through what we've been building with the Imagining School of Cyberspace, and then I'm going to show you the virtual bridges. So in the School of Cyberspace, we're questioning, does school need to be a boring place? And what are the implications of gamified education? And I think this is going to be the key thing, in the upcoming years, because a lot of kids are waiting for the moment to go back home so they can play Minecraft and Roblox. And I always question, why don't we integrate education into those game environments? So then we won't even need to tell our children to learn to go to school. You don't need to let your kids tell your kids to game. They will game on autopilot. So why don't we integrate education models into gaming environment? And I'm also a massive supporter of the idea of when you create a superhero version of yourself, be it in a game or in real life, it has an impact on your subconscious level, especially as a kid. I'm the generation. I grew up watching Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, cartoons that where I saw teenagers like myself, challenging the status quo, challenging the villains, and I think that had an impact on my consciousness, and then I feel that I think there is a great potential in helping kids build personality and self-confidence by helping them develop their own characters. So these are the things that we are questioning in this form education. It's still being developed, it's still being brewed and cooked, but here are some of the concepts that we've been working on. So there's going to be 2 elements, which is one of them is cyber wizardry, and then there's going to be another class where you learn how to throw the best party. Yeah. And so to begin with, in the cyber wizardry classes, the school or the classroom works as a portal. So and then we don't tell kids that they're going to school. Actually, I'd rather tell them that they're going to visit your magic castle. And then in every classes have both physical version of the school and an exact digital twin in the metaverse. And I am right now living in a fantastic, beautiful warehouse in Bethnal Green, which we are going to be having the first classes here as the pilot education model. And whilst we have we're going to be using the living room, which we have as an exact model in the metaverse. So in these classes, whatever kids do in the physical class gets reflected in the metaverse. So if kids create a 3D model of a portal and put it on the kitchen table or the school table, then it will appear on the digital one. So then or in the metaverse, students will be able to create portions and become smaller and start seeing their classes from different angles. And I think this has a potential to literally inspire and have a form of creative explosion in the minds of children. It certainly had on me. So, and I would like to now harness the best of it for the upcoming generations. So a little bit some examples. For example, when our students come, like we don't have uniforms, but we want all our students to design their own uniforms. Let's say in the physical school, students will first, design their own avatars and characters. Say if they design to be a wizard, they then work with, we're going to have maybe 1 week or 2 project-based learning where they design their own wizardry costumes. They're going to work with fashion designers to actually use their hands to craft their wizardry costumes. And then the exact costume, then we're going to use artificial intelligence and 3D modeling softwares and then create it in the metaverse. So when they leave the class and go back home, they're then going to be able to play Roblox or Minecraft-like environment where they're going to embody their character, which is from the school. And I think I'm really curious in looking at like how this would subconsciously make students and children love their classes, because who wouldn't love, going to a wizardry class and then whatever you do there gets reflected in the game you're playing at night when you're home. So we have different methods of teaching. Like we're going to use Legos to design their own characters. We're going to have a 3D model version of the class in the Lego. We're going to be using Legos to introduce a different game mechanics on softwares like Unity and Unreal. We are using Luma Genie AI and Ready Player Me. These are different like AI softwares where you can quickly design your own character. We're then going to have, once they design their own character, we're then going to have classes where they start building their characters, items and accessories. And these are going to be like classes where we're going to have, for example, project-based learning, where we tell students to spend the week collecting recycling materials. And then in the weekend, they bring the recycling materials and then we use them and turn them into a wizardry wand. So I never want to tell students that they're learning about, AI, 3D modeling and all that. Instead, we're going to tell them you're creating your incredible wizardry wand. And by doing so, they will then learn how to, recycle materials. By doing so, they will learn how to, have as less waste as possible. So, and then how to use, everything sufficiently. And then whatever, stuff they create in the class will then also be reflected in the metaverse as well. So if in the class they decide to put a platform on a third floor level that can only be reached by flying, they will then have to spend their class time on building a wizardry wand that allows them to fly in the 3D environment. And I think this will encourage kids to create these items, because they're going to be getting rewards in the end of it. And then they're going to be using like XR virtual reality modeling tools to model these items and the worlds. we're going to have 3D modeling, 3D printers as well. So whatever they design with AI, 3D model softwares will then be 3D printed, and then they will then have their staffs. By the way, in the classroom, they're going to be wearing everything they create. So whatever they create in the classroom will always be worn by them. And we're gonna then introduce them into blockchain softwares. So whatever they create in the classroom will reflect to the digital world as a form of, as a digital token NFT. And then it's going to connect to their like MetaMask wallets. And then and this way students will then also be learning about the blockchain technologies from an early age onwards. And I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, so I am a true D&D fan, a geek. And then each student is going to have their own, D&D like character sheets where we're going to see their skills, abilities, and also this is going to be useful when they're collaborating with each other. So a 3D designer is going to work with a virtual reality designer, so on and so forth. And follow that, they're going to be using AI to design their own guilds, like in Harry Potter, like Gryffindor, Slytherin. And then they're going to print these guilds logos on their t-shirts. We're going to use virtual reality tools to create holographic t-shirt designs. And for a kid to design this element, they're going to be learning like 9-10 different tools without even realizing it. I think a great education is like when you don't tell someone that you're educating them, like they just learn, without even realizing it. And whilst they're doing that, and then also I think there is a good thing about like when you create something and then when you're wearing it, you feel really proud. So I really want to see our students, wear their creation and feel proud of it. Then we're going to teach them about the DAO systems, which is a form of governance on blockchain, but we're going to use the DAO systems in when they build their own guilds. It's going to be built on the blockchain systems, and then again, it's going to be then used by MetaMask. Then later on, once they have their own characters, they all have their own accessories and DAOs and guilds, they then get together and start building their own games. And this is one of my early students in the warehouse when I was teaching them about virtual reality. So we're gonna have different virtual reality environments. So we're gonna have mixed reality, where the difference between mixed and virtual reality is when you go into a fully virtual world, whereas mixed reality is you put the headset on, and then from the front of the camera of the headset, there are 3 cameras, which allows you to see through the headset. Then you will be able to see your physical class, and then you will be able to build 3D holograms on it. Say, if I want to build, if I build a 3D sculpture here, like 3 kids get together and build a 3D sculpture, that sculpture will then be seen in the metaverse of the school. So then, for example, as teachers, we're gonna say, oh, there is a hidden door on the corner of this class. How do you get there? So the aim of the education is to provide tools and then let kids come up with the solutions. And I think by doing so, we're gonna experience some fun moments and also like the incredible creativity of the upcoming generations. This is how it looks like when you're painting in the mixed reality. So you see your carpet and then you paint on it, or you can just transform your whole space, into a garden and do whatever what you want. We're also gonna have we're gonna create like another example of game could be like Mario Kart. We're gonna have physical Mario racing in the physical world, but then they're gonna put holographic how they call it, obstacles, and this is all going to be designed by the students. And then they're gonna have, for example, if they design a Mario Kart, I want it to be like something like Quidditch tournament between the guilds, and then then it's going to encourage students to create, be really creative and come up with incredible ideas. Also, another thing that the school is going to have, like maybe at the beginning of every class, we're going to have treasure hunts in the class where they find sophisticated items, and then those items will then be added to their MetaMask in the form of NFTs. They can create their own secret chambers. We want students to come up with their own ideas. For example, they can create a portal in the classroom, which when you go through, you go into totally another dimension. And yeah, like exactly like this. And for us, parents and adults, this is technology, but for an 8-year-old who just exploring this reality, this is, I feel this is, digital magic or cyberdelia. So when students have their, they finish a course, and then at the end of the term, obviously, we're all going to celebrate their success. And this will be done by, having students throwing the best party. So this is a warehouse that is known for, having great parties. So we're going to use the best of it. And I think every single school needs to have this. So the students will then use their skills to create visuals and create music. And we're also going to teach them how to DJ, control the visuals of the party, and DJ and throw a party where they invite their parents, their friends and family, and feel proud of their creation. So we then party, and here is the 3-day plan of the school. I'm happy to send this to people. This is going to be the setup to begin with. So when the students walk in to the school, they immediately wear their uniforms, their characters, be it a Jedi, a magician, cyborg, whatever they want to become. They then embody that character. And then in the middle of the class, the school also has an artificial intelligence system that we call Skywalker. So you can talk to Skywalker from anywhere in the classroom. You just need to say, hey, Skywalker, create me a flying rhino. The Skywalker then connects to the projector and then creates it and then projects it to the screen and talks to you through the speakers that we have. And then this way, prompting with an AI system, when you write a prompt, you are actually basically spelling magic, because, you tell an AI system what you wish to see. It works like a genie, and then it just grants your wishes and creates it, brings it to the material world through the digital world. So, but what I really want to show students that AI has no difference than magic. So when you actually talk with an AI system without using any interface like a keyboard, and you just literally incantate or you spell your wishes and then call them into reality, that is, I think, a form of magic. And I'm really curious to see now what kind of impact this will have in the minds of upcoming generation. Then we're going to have the DJ booths here, prints, t-shirts, and a collaborative portal areas. Hello?
Is that somebody else, or the okay, I'm just going to look, see if is that you, Batuhan, or is that someone else?
No, that's not from me.
Okay.
And so this was the grand plan. Should we mute everybody?
I'm going to try and mute everyone. One sec. Let's mute Clemmy, Mustafa. Okay, I think that's pretty much everyone done.
Okay. So that was the grand plan, but we have a shorter plan that is more of the compact for the pilot education, where we're going to be doing maybe 1/3, maybe 1/4 of what we talked earlier, and then in this plan we're going to be running 3 days pilot education in September, where we're going to be learning all these AI tools and then 3D design skills. And then this is a form, of this. If you're interested, I'm happy to send this to everybody. I'm going to put the link at the end. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the virtual bridges. This is going to, by the way, happening in London, but it's designed to be taken to different cities, and hopefully, Phoenix and I have been talking about converting, spaces through space generators in different parts of UK and turn them into education spaces. And then now I'm going to show you the virtual bridges projects. Can you all see the slides for virtual bridges?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is a project that we brought together with Artolution, and we partnered up with UNHCR, United Nations Refugee Agency. So we are our aim was that forcibly displaced youth face many challenges, and one of them is that it's really hard for them to keep up themselves with the upcoming technologies and digital skills. So we wrote the projects and to work with 100 young refugees across 4 camps to begin with, and then further 2,500 individuals will benefit directly from this. And then we're gonna be piloting the education this month onwards in 4 countries. So in Indonesia, Uganda, Czech Republic, and Algeria, we're gonna be working with Ukrainian, Rohingya, and Syrian Kurdish refugees. And this project has 3 different parts. It begins with teaching children about digital design skills. We're going to be providing them iPads, and we're going to be teaching them how to use Photoshop, Procreate, and digital painting. And then they're then going to be using these skills to design a community mural painting. So they're going to design their community mural painting in the digital world, and then we're going to get together and paint that mural in their community. And this way, what we're aiming is that places where refugee kids are, we're going to be bringing 2 sides of the conflict, like let's say Palestinians and Israelis, Turkish, Kurdish, Syrians together, and then to paint something and create a collaborative art together. And this is a really powerful way to bring communities together, because the language of art is universal. First of all, they're going to go beyond their cultural and language barriers. Second of all, we see that kids completely forget, what their parents or what their history is telling them. They just start playing, and that is the most powerful, healing methods we have experienced so far. But not only that, by creating an incredible mural, they then have something to be proud of. They then have something that they've given to their community, so they can then look at it every day and feel proud of, or maybe point at it and say that, like, I've created this with someone from the other side of the conflict. And this is what we do in every single refugee camp. And then these are some of the examples that we've already created. Our solution is active in 18 countries, and we work with 180 local refugee artists. We don't only work with refugees, we also provide them a work opportunity so they can continue their art by teaching refugee children. And then what we're going to do is we're going to introduce virtual reality. So this way, we're going to connect the kids in 4 refugee camps with each other. And this time, what they designed with their digital skills, they will then use virtual reality to paint intercontinentally. So Ukrainian refugees are going to meet with the Rohingya refugees, and they're going to create a mural together. And for me, this is absolutely mind-bending, because they're going to see the power of technology and how they can be anywhere at any time with the power of the internet and virtual reality. So this is to begin with, this is going to be in the 4 refugee camps, but our aim is to expand it to 28 or 30 more refugee camps in the upcoming year. And we're running it together with Arthur Lushini, Joel, Max, and myself. Okay, so yeah, this is what my life is about. So another thing that about my childhood is that my childhood dream was to become a teacher who never kicks students from his classroom. And I really mean it. At age 6, I was kicked out and I was sent to the headmaster's class. My parents were called and they were all yelling at me. And I literally told them, I said, one day I'll become a teacher. I'll never kick my students out. And I have, but in a totally different way. I've created a character called Cyber Rabbit, which is a rabbit from the future. It refers to the white rabbit of Alice, who, how they call, shows Alice what other possibilities are there on the other side of the rabbit hole. And I think technology is a great, this is a great allegory for technology, because right now we have a cyber rabbit that shows us what's on the other side. Not Wonderland, but at this time I call it the Imaginatrix, where the imagination and the matrix, merges. So I designed Cyber Rabbit for a platform called Twin Science. Twin Science and Robotics is a global company that works mainly in the UK and Turkey, and now we're expanding to globally to many other countries, mainly in Europe, America, and Middle East and Asia. And we are already connected with 4,000 schools, and we have online classes as well as school classes. And Cyber Rabbit from September onwards is going to be teaching children about the responsible use of technology, specifically artificial intelligence. And we need a revolution. We need a revolution, especially in the education system, because there is an issue with many things. And one of them is we have this system that diagnoses kids with ADHD nonstop and starts drugging them from an early age onwards without actually realizing that, like, if we evolve from monkeys, then we are not designed to be sitting in a classroom. Like, we are designed to be, jumping from one tree to another and just, like, just release that energy. And I think, kids needs to be doing that. And that's exactly what I would like to achieve in the imaginative education, where, kids freely explore the classroom and design things in the classroom that reflects in the metaverse. And also, on the other hand, what I'm really inspired is that when a mind when a mind expands by a new idea, it never goes back to its old dimension. So when we show refugee kids that they can be somewhere else in the world, and with the empowerment of technology, and go beyond the borders of bureaucracy and politics with the empowerment of technology, that is an incredible statement for the minds of a developing brain. So in short, a friend of mine last week said that children are present-future interface, which is true, because by working with children, by educating children, we program the future of humanity. And right now, unfortunately, currently our children are exposed to dystopian science fiction stories that scare us about the possible future. But we need to understand that we live in an age where science fiction is becoming science fact. So for this reason, I always wonder, like, what could happen when we start imagining beautiful futures with our children, a beautiful future where technology and nature coexisting and living together in harmony and peace. Is this not possible? Can we not imagine this collectively? What if we could educate our children about the future, where nature and technology work together? There is a concept called solar punk, and where, and punk comes from, being against the system and doing the DIY culture. And the solar is the use of solar energy in this world is the complete opposite of the, dystopian cyberpunk, where everything is digital. In this world, the solar energy empowers everything, and nature and technology coexist, a little bit like how bees build beehives, and then it feels really natural. And I think this is one of the ways, into the future, if we really want to be the surviving species on our planet. And I believe this is really important, because our civilization is at the crossroads. Decision that we make today will have a tremendous impact on the future of humanity and our planet. And I think I would like to go back to Egypt again, because perhaps we have so much to learn from the history. So when we look at the pyramids in Egypt, or pyramids all around the world, I always question, like, do we just see tombs, or could pyramids represent a form of technology that's been lost to the sands of time? So kind of like, almost, are they like the remnants, or like computers that are left from the previous civilization that didn't they were not so humble with their creations. So
Batuhan, just on that, can I just point out to people that no, they never found anyone actually ever buried in any one of those pyramids.
The pyramids also don't have this, the characteristic of an, dynastic Egyptians, how they call tombs, and it wasn't even like mentioned in the Kermet language, like the ancient Egyptian language, that pyramids were not tombs. They were mentioned as energy generators. But for me, it's like there is a missing chunk, chapter in the history. There's incredible people, like Graham Hancock, or Randall Carlson, like all trying to understand what is missing. I don't know if we're ever going to understand unless someone from the past comes and tells us what happened. But for me, what matters is what matters is the story and the lesson. There is a story and the lesson in this, and I think it really, really, really applies to our civilization right now. And I would like to come towards the end with one of my favorite parts, speech from Graham Hancock. I grew up watching Graham Hancock and reading his books, and we're lucky to have his daughter and her amazing partner Jason in the call as well. And this is among all the books and then the shows that I've read and watched by Hancock. This is by far my most favorite because it really resonates with our current civilization. So I would like to play it. It's only 2 minutes, but it has, so much lesson in it. Can you hear it? Or
Not the volume. Put the volume up.
Just need to turn my.
The volume up on YouTube, maybe.
I'd like to say just one more
Can
thing,
you hear it now?
certainly, which is that Plato's story of Atlantis has a lesson for us, I think. The story of Atlantis is that Atlantis was once this great and wise civilization, very generous and kind and supportive, deeply spiritual. But as time went by, it became puffed up with arrogance and pride. It became cruel. It started to project its power around the world and to shape the destinies of other peoples in a very negative way. And became so confident of its own power that it was utterly unprepared for the cataclysm when it came. And I can't help feeling that we tick all the boxes of the next lost civilization, because that's the kind of civilization we are today. We are arrogant, oversure of ourselves, projecting our power around the world, totally focused on material things, ignoring the realm of spirit entirely.
Living only in the moment.
Living only in the moment, with short-term economic gains being our entire focus. And this is not the right way to live. This is philosophically and spiritually wrong that we're living in this way. And the lesson of history is we need to learn humility. We need to learn to bear our prosperity with moderation. And that's what Plato said about Atlantis, that they failed to bear their prosperity with moderation, and that this cost them very dear. We're probably the first civilization in the whole story of human history who have the capacity to intervene in our cosmic environment. We actually could make our cosmic environment safe. It's not a gloom and doom story. We can make it safe. We need not become the next lost civilization. But while our eye is on all the hatred and fear and suspicion that are generated in the world today, while we are spending trillions of dollars on sophisticated weapons of destruction to wipe one another out and murder one another in horrific manners, we are not attending to the real threat to the future of humanity. And if we were to make this a grand human project, collectively to get together to make the cosmic environment of Earth safe, we could absolutely do it. The choice is in our hands.
Ladies and gentlemen, we make tomorrow.
Yeah, this is actually what I love Graham Hancock among all the ancient, historians. I love him because, like, whilst he gets, attacked by many about his theories about the past, he's so powerful to, stand straight still. And what people are missing is that, like, he's really present and future oriented. And his main teaching is that we don't know what happened in the past. We have theories. Certainly Graham has his theories, but like, let's learn from the past lessons and not let them repeat again, because we're literally at the crossroads. Whether Atlantis existed or not, it has a lesson for our civilization. So whilst we try to, prove or disprove Atlantis existed or not, let's also focus on not become the next lost civilization, because we're literally going towards that. And
Okay. Have you got a few more slides, and then we'll go
just finishing now. So we don't need to be the next lost civilization. And like Graham Hancock say, let's learn and have to bear prosperity with moderation and become the civilization that reaches the stars. And I really like this. I would like to finish by saying that to defend the country, you need an army, but to defend the civilization, you need education. We really need to change the education system and become the next civilization that reaches the stars. And thank you for listening. You can get my contacts.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
If you want to copy that, folks. So if you've got a question or a comment or a feedback, or whatever, there's a reactions thing down the bottom. I'm just going to take Batuhan's contact there. If you want, quickly screenshot it, and then I'm going to go to multiple heads on the screen so we can see who's got a hand up. But just to say, get the body context. Thank you so much, Batuhan. That really, really informative. I put your contacts in as well in the chat. Absolutely incredible. And we're really hoping that we can all work together and actually, move to a situation where we can use some of this latest technology to imagine a better future, to work on repairing a better future. I think we had a session at Batuhan's a few weeks ago where we asked this AI Skywalker how we can repair the planet, and basically within a very short amount of time, it came up with about 9 different suggestions of all the different things that we could be doing to repair the planet, you know, and all the kind of changes we need to get on with. So let's work together for a brighter, sustainable future. Batuhan, if you want to stop sharing in a sec, then we'll see who's got hands up. I think Dottie was first, then Christine. So it can be feedback, comment, question. I think hopefully most people are happy to run on 10, 15 minutes longer. It's been a fascinating one tonight. And Dave, the ex-school governor, is number 3. Dottie, then Christine, then Dave. Over. Put your hands up in reactions if you like, folks, down the bottom. Dottie, go for it.
So first thing I'd like to say is I saw Kim having her actual hand up. She can't do that.
Oh, very good. Class sharing. I didn't see which. I don't know where did she get in? After you or before Christine?
I don't mind coming fourth. It's no problem.
All right, fantastic. So Oxford first, University Challenge. Dottie, go for it.
Hi, thank you, Batuhan, for really inspiring talk. And firstly, I wanted to just say yes, I'm also an ADHD sufferer and wasn't expelled or deported, but I was certainly suspended quite a lot. I guess the thing that floated up in my head quite a lot was just, it's my personal sort of like thing I keep beating people over the head with, but I really feel that there's a lot of importance in trying to look to the indigenous and the ancient ways perhaps of our own society. And while I think that teaching digital skills is incredibly important and it needs to be done in a really vibrant and the way that you're doing it looks great. I'm just wondering if, you know, how are you interested or willing to sort of like move forwards in this project with doing more to incorporate different ways of seeing the world, not just in virtual reality, but also in a sort of like perceptual and emotional and psychological ways, so that the kids who are coming through your education projects are not only learning these digital skills, but also the communication and the, you know, relation to nature and all those other things. Like what kind of ideas have you got around that kind of topic?
That's a really, really good point. I think, you know, I really focus on technology, but for me, it's actually technology is my tool to teach kids about the imagination, sharing, working in groups. You know, technology is just a tool, you know, in the end, you know, if there was something better than artificial intelligence, I will use that. You know, I'm not like a fanboy of AI or virtual reality. It's just by far, those are the best technologies that, you know, fascinates me the most. And then I am using them to make kids question multidimensional reality, you know, expanded their mind, consciousness. And on the other hand, this is a little confidential, but I like to share. But with some of the partners, education partners that I'm working with, I have suggested them that, you know, we should create characters like Cyber Rabbit, but trained by indigenous people. So, you know, but train, you know, taking the teachings and life lessons of the indigenous people, and then actually sharing it with children, or, you know, or working with, you know, people like Graham Hancock and taking their education and then sharing it with children. And not literally telling children, you know, what is right and what is wrong, but at least this will give kids, you know, show that reality is not just through the Western perspective. It is through, you know, there's multiple ways of looking at reality. And by doing so, we teach children like how to have, you know, critical thinking skills. Yeah.
All right. That helps there, Dottie. I think, was it Christine 2, then David, then Kim, then Pendar. Christine.
Yeah, I kind of echo that thing what Dot just said as well. Like, you know, our kids are plugged in so much, and all that, and that does go against our evolutionary, you know, what we're designed to do. I'm lucky enough that I work in HE, and I'm lucky enough that my bosses have let me have a deep dive into AI over the last 18 months, and it's become like my specialism. So we do use a lot of gamification for the students to kind of engage them, and it is engaging, but it's also very clearly, we have lots of data that is showing that the more that those students are using AI, the lower their attendance, lateness, motivation, grades. So the data is showing it. We know, we track how much they're using it and all that. But anyway, that's like my background. And but my key issue that I was going to ask you about was about, like, you know, behind that interface of the AI, there's 1,000 times what we used to, for that energy consumption is used by the AI, by all the processors and all the servers. It's comparable to the, aerospace industry. So for us in the Wednesday webinar, like I said, loads of issues with, data, workers' exploitations by these AI companies. Have a little Google. There's so many ethical issues, as well as the way that it's de-skilling our children. That's, it's actually de-skilling them. But for the focus of this, what about this hyper consumption of like AI? I love the connecting, but do we need to, so much? Do we need to then go into the metaverse? Lovely to connect, but you got every minute they're on there, that's 1,000 times. For every minute they're using 1,000 minutes of energy. For every time that they are using AI, that's we need to think about. That's for us. What do you think about that aspect?
I mean, like, thank you for your question. Those are really great points. I mean, for me, like, AI is the elephant in the room. We cannot, turn a blind eye on it. It's like it's everywhere. It's covering the entire room. So what we need to question is, like, whilst we're so aware of everything you just said, like, whether we like it or not, the elephant is in the room. So if we don't use it, someone else will use it, and then those person who
they can use it, that's fine. The thing is, it's not a scramble. Like you say, it's there, but actually, is it something that we should be promoting? We know it's there, and they know it's there, and the kids are using it. Like you say, the kids are plugged in, and they're all this stuff's quite user friendly.
And I've been in the AI world for like over 10 years, and I know for a fact that AI research is not going to stop. It's not going anywhere. It's only just going to get better and better and more powerful. Like last year around this time, we didn't have AI that could create realistic photos and images, and right now you can just type in a prompt, and within 10 seconds you have an incredible a visionary a scene that will normally cost 10, 15, maybe 50K to shoot, in real life. But now it's just, 10 seconds of, prompting. So long story short, AI research is not going anywhere. And then whoever uses AI is going to have great advantage. A good example of this, like you use the word de-skilling, and I totally agree on that. And I think as humans, if this is our, like if our body is a biological computer and our mind is the software, and biological computer that we have as a body can only retain certain amounts of skills. And in this case, a good example is like 10,000 years ago, when humans were inventing agriculture during the agricultural revolution. I am sure that people were not happy about giving up their hunting skills, but and turning into farming. And but 10,000 years later, I am sure no one in this talk knows how to, hunt to survive, or, we know how to go to Tesco and buy food because our civilization has evolved. So what I'm saying is that, 200 years ago during the Industrial Revolution, machines started taking, start doing the mega work, the heavy work that back then humans, complain about losing their jobs. But yes, machines did take the job opportunities from the hands of humans, but then they also created new job opportunities. So we've given up. Maybe we are less, maybe
one will come back quickly, because I think I said so much that my point was lost. Yeah, my key question was about the energy consumption, that it's 1,000 times more consumption. And like you say, 150 years ago, we had the Industrial Revolution, and the environmental impact of that consumption for that Industrial Revolution, plus a social impact and everything else, but the environmental impact has been vast, and the climate change has happened so fast. Now we are talking about hyper consumption, hyper energy consumption, where it's 1,000. Each time you hit that button to make a picture, write a song, ask a question, it's 1,000 times behind what you're using on your phones behind that. So, like you say, we have to be mindful of the effects of these big transitions, and we are at a big transition point. That's why I'm so alarmed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a healthy debate, and we do need to look at the effect of everything.
I love the mural, by the way.
Yeah.
Dave,
can I say something?
And then Penda. There's a few people waiting.
Can I say something?
Stick your hand up, Abiba. We've got a bit of a queue. Dave,
I am.
Okay, you can go after Kim then. Dave, and then Penda.
David, we are not hearing you. You're mute.
Unmute, Dave. Ex-school governor, I think, for Dave, do you want to unmute? Dave, we can't hear you. Unmute. It would be good to hear what the...
Okay, here you go. Yeah, I'm still a school governor. I've had most jobs between playground assistant and an evil lead Ofsted inspector in education. And I'm currently chair the curriculum committee of a fairly large primary school in West London, where it's mostly sort of second and third generation kids from South Asia. I mean, just on the last speaker, I'm very impressed by, since I've installed solar, my electricity bill is virtually zero, and sometimes it seems to be positive because at the moment they're incentivizing, and clearly we're going to be able to shift electrons around even more efficiently as time goes. So AI costs are a big problem at the moment. I suspect that's solvable. But what when I was an IT coordinator back in the 80s, one of the problems I had, like one year I'd be inspected to check out why there were more girls involved in doing IT in my school than boys. And then the next year I'd have one, say, very techie boy, and somehow his performance inhibited other people from there. It's like if you've got an elder brother who's a great this, that, or the other, you probably choose a different area to go into. And to get good at IT, as far as I can see, you've got to put in quite a bit of time. I mean, all the stuff which you were showing us, Batuhan, God knows how many tens or hundreds of hours it took to create some of that stuff. And kind of fostering this engagement is straightforward for some kids. Others, my son did diagnose himself with ADHD a couple of years after graduating, and they said, I think you've got it too, Dad. I mean, I've got a million questions to ask you. I want to read up a load of your stuff and then get back in touch with you and see how I can exploit it and so on. But, I can only ask you so many questions at a time. What percentage of the kids, say, in refugee camps or wherever, do you feel you're capturing at the moment? Because, it's not so difficult to have, 2 or 3 IT geniuses in your class who, maybe have overtaken myself by the end of the year, but different people interact in different ways. So much of it is through screens at the moment. I know virtual reality and headsets are coming on. I mean, at the moment, I'm trying to write an introductory syllabus in cybernetics and systems thinking for the Cybernetic Society, and I've been not writing a book on very similar stuff for kids for about the last 3 years. So, but basically, my question is, what proportion of the kids do you think you can capture? I mean, is this just part of the answer, or is it the whole of the answer that you're that you're leading on at the moment? And I mean, massive kudos to you for all the work that you've done.
I mean, we are like the thing. It's a really good question. Thank you. I think a good answer will be like, we don't know yet until we actually provide the technology. Like, you don't know who's really good at horse riding until there is a horse that you can ride. And at the moment, whilst we are in our privileged Western world cities, kids in refugee camps, they have barely access to the internet. Like when we were working with United Nations, the project was supposed to begin in June, but like we first needed to build infrastructure. A lot of the money is being spent on building infrastructure like the internet, bringing computers. We're getting Meta and Google involved in this as well, because we need a lot of headsets. Technology costs a lot of money. So our aim is to create these digital hubs and then provide the tools and then let kids explore what they want to do with them. Like one thing that we do with Art Solution was that we are active in 18 countries and we work with 180 local artists. These artists have been displaced and put in refugee camps because of a war or natural disaster in their countries. And we go there with funding from United Nations, UNICEF, and from our donors. And then we employ the local artists and tell them that hey, you don't have to give up on your artistic skills. Work with us. Let us train you. And then we have a, you know, our solution methodology. So then we go to the refugee camps, we train the local artists for 3 weeks, and then we move on to the next refugee camp. Then they then continue the program with the local kids. Usually a lot of more kids come. And then in the past, we had experiences where, like, you know, when we go to a refugee camp and start painting murals, then the kids come and, you know, they just look at you really, you know, like with them, you know, curious eyes. And then they ask you, like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm painting. And then like, they're like, what are you painting? And like, you then pass them a brush and they start, you know, painting with you. And then we had experiences where like kids come to us, you know, 6-7-year-olds, and they said that I didn't know I had the right to imagine. I didn't know I had the right to have a dream. I didn't know I could actually paint. I was allowed to do this. And then by doing so, you open new chapters in the minds of the kids. And then one thing we actually do is, like I say, in the Virtual Bridges project, technology is just a tool. What we are looking at is the impact of technology education in the kids' well-being. So when we provide these digital tools to a refugee camp, imagine being a refugee camp and you have access to a mobile phone where you go on TikTok and you see kids in Western world, you know, playing with, you know, virtual reality headsets. You wish to experience it, right? And then one day these people come to your camp and bring the VR headset. What kind of impact this will have on kids' mind when they feel that they are also invited to contribute into the technological evolution. They're invited, they've given a platform. So they feel worth, you know, of having access to these technologies. That is one of the main elements of the Virtual Bridges project. Yeah.
I think there's so much in this. Dave, quick one, and then we want to come on to Pendar and Art Groupie.
I think partly what you're saying is that giving kids models of plausible others, like their own mates doing stuff, will get them to put the work in, like learn to speak whatever language they speak and so on. Like when I was a kid, only international footballers keep the football going in the air without touching the ground, whereas I walk around my block and I see girls of 9 doing that now. So anyway, thanks. I'll try and follow this up.
We've got a few in the queue, so let's come over to Pendar. I think then it's Tim, Art Groupie, Habiba.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Pendar.
Hello.
Pendar. I think it's Pendar next, then Kim.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I thought I was the next one.
Okay, I'll keep it short. So I've got 2 very quick questions, and the first one is on what your curriculum is based, and the second one, what's the technology behind your White Rabbit, if I may?
What? Sorry, which curriculum in this Imaginatrix School of Wizardry or the Virtual Bridges?
Yeah, the school.
In the School of Wizardry, so like in the pilot education, in the short one, we're gonna start by design our own characters. Then we're gonna design our own augmented reality t-shirts, and then we're gonna design our own games. And by doing so, kids will learn 8 different AI tools and 9 different, programming and design tools. But in the long run, I'm at the moment currently building, a whole school of after school classes that is going to take kids through, from designing their characters, building their games, to learning about creating visuals for a party, creating, music and DJing for a party. Mm-hmm. So by the end of the term and the year, they're gonna have all these skills. And
so teaching those skills is your aim, or you're going to assist AI to teach something else, for example, recycling that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be like project-based learnings, projects. Right. So we're gonna have, maybe like 1 month where they design, a wizardry stuff that is made of, for 1 week, they're gonna bring the recycled materials. Then we're gonna use the recycled materials to design this stuff. We then gonna use another week, using our devices to 3D scan that stuff and then put it into the metaverse. Then the following week is going to be used for taking that 3D scan stuff, putting it into the metaverse.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. And what's the technology behind your White Rabbit?
Oh, so Cyber Rabbit. I used Mid-Journey and then animated with Runway 3. Right. Runway AI. Yeah.
Should we come over to Kim there, and then I think it's either whoever's next up, Habib or Art Groupie. Kim and then Dot.
Yeah, thank you. It's just really exciting. There's so many ways it can go, what you're doing. I mean, I think the idea of combining gaming with learning is ingenious, because it's really going to drive people who have kids who have difficulty learning. I had some difficulties at school, and I think it's really going to help children. I think it's really important to reiterate the need for like repurpose like hardware, tech. So this is all about being green. On one hand, we've got AI, you know, we use it. But for me, the elephant in the room is being very mindful of anything that might, you know, not be kind of, you know, in terms of consumers, durables and things, where we can like use solar power, use other sorts of tech if solar power is not viable to make this stuff work. So I just kind of want to say that. What I wanted to ask you, if it wasn't, you know, if it's something you're comfortable to tell us, is I'm very curious to know where you got the funding for this in the UK. So did you get any funding stream from like the Arts Council, or what other kind of key funding did you get? Because it's an amazing project, but I'd really like to know how it's been funded.
Okay, in the past, in 2020, we received a 25K from the British government to run the virtual reality classes in the at the primary school, and then and I've been doing, you know, I've been working on getting private funding as well. And right now we are running the pilot education to, you know, to have some materials in our hands to go to, you know, investors and show, you know, what we want to build, because it's not an easy, you know, education. You need to have a whole team of, you know, people working, you know, behind the education. You need to have educators, but you also need to have team that builds the tools that educators use, like the metaverse, you know, or like the, you know, like the virtual reality worlds. So right now we are in the process of actually talking to investors, and it's looking good. Yeah. You are.
That's fantastic. I just wanted to say I might know somebody who may be interested. I don't know. They do more kind of Arts Council funding work, but if I find that they are interested, maybe I can hook them up with you, Batuhan, because it is amazing.
Yeah, that'd be really great. Thank you. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you.
Please contact each other, directly message each other as well in this chat and things. A little bit succincter now, or tail end things, but we can keep going because it's great conversations. Like Art Groupie, and then Habiba, and I'm coming in Dottie.
Yeah, bear with me. I'm going to say 5 things, but I think they all join up, but I didn't get to the end. Because what I want to say first, I found this meeting, I've nearly left because I found it so incredibly difficult to sit through this meeting. It's made me really sad. And I was imagining if you did have that contact, if you're on your own, that would be so amazing, you know, for various reasons. So I wasn't quite sure where I was going with it, but I think actually, from my perspective, what I think maybe is there's a few perspectives missing from here. One, AI is not that intelligent in that it tends to steer everything. It's like the Arts Council, it steers everything towards the mainstream. It picks the most likely answer or the average answer. Am I correct? I mean, I'm ancient, I don't know, but I think that is the case. 2, a lot of the problem that we're facing is due to a linear and reductionist approach to teaching and subjects in schools currently. 3 is that I've forgotten the word for what's a style sheet in blockchain, whatever that is. You can write that. Can you write that to leverage? And are you going to include this in teaching kids about so blockchain, to me, I'm actually trying to do a system change model, and I'm thinking at the back of my mind, blockchain is something similar to that, and I like it. But are you going to, in teaching children, teach them how to leverage that system for different reasons or not? And for system change, I'm talking about. And what was the other thing? ADHD. I'm going to include myself, but purely for an example in this. Everyone always told me, I've only got a B in art. I always thought it was really thick. And I went to private school and felt like I wasn't using my white privilege very effectively whatsoever, and have never been. And I was always told I had autism or ADHD. And I found out last week that I don't. I have PTSD, and someone did it. And actually, this is fine. So I spoke to Dr. Patrick, And he said, so many people are being misdiagnosed with ADHD who actually have trauma, and it's reaching epidemic levels. And I think this is a consideration. And I told Bridget my blue tack analogy about trauma, and it was like this. And if it was like, I said to Bridget, but I'll say it to Phoenix, if you go to our old office and pick all the blue tack off, and I ask you to pick all the blue tack off the wall and take it to our new office, and you just brought it to me with all the picky little bits of harm stuck in it, and we tried, our new office would be rubbish. The pictures would fall straight off the wall because we need to pick out the harm along the way. And how can we achieve? I think that's a big point that people are missing in how we're going to connect with each other in the future, and how we can do that with AI. But I love the idea of being able to talk to somebody.
There's a lot in there, Alice, and you know, I'm a person who spent very much a lot of my life getting into empty buildings and sticking things up on walls with blue tack. And I don't think we are meant to sit down in a classroom trained in factory lines and military lines to just listen to one person at the front. And you know, these tools are coming. And as I was chatting with Batuhan the other night, we want to start getting kids at all ages into designing better futures, sustainable futures. How do we repair the planet? This is any tool can be used to heal or to harm. A hammer can be used to, you know, build a house or smash windows and hurt people. We have to use this tool. AI is being used to target people. We've got to keep it away from weapons and accelerate that type of thing.
Exactly.
We asked it, how do we repair the planet? And it told us all these incredible things, about 9 things in about 3 minutes of all the things it could do to repair the planet. We have to really get organized, start cooperating on planetary solutions beyond all borders. And the kids have got the answers as well. You give them the tools. We need to link together. We've got a certain amount of time.
Can I actually, by the way, add something to this? You know, like the blockchain part of it. A great example of this was, like one of the main thing that controls all of us, whether we like it or not, is the money, right? Unless you want to go to the wild and hunt your own food, you have to earn money if you choose to live in an urban environment. And money only exists because we put value into it. Like pound has a value because we all believe in it and we all use it. It's just a piece of paper, actually. A good example of teaching kids about blockchain is, and blockchain can actually is a technology that can help us create a new value system that is not controlled by the normal government.
Yes.
So back in 2016,
back
in 2016, 17, when Ethereum, the first programmable blockchain, was launched, a kid who was 11, 12-year-old figured out how to create his own money on the Ethereum blockchain, and him and his friends at school stopped using US dollars, and then the currency that he created started spreading across the country, and kids in their age would only use this value system, which was later on then used by governments to attack blockchain. But imagine like if we mass educate children of today about how to use blockchain through a gamified education, where whilst they think they're upgrading their character in the Roblox like environment, they learn actually how to create a new currency system, how to create NFTs, and by the time they get to age 18, they're going to have their own currency system. So then this is, I think, a real way of raising, the future of, anarchists. Yeah.
Okay, coming over to, I think, Dottie, then Habiba, or was it Habiba, Dottie? I don't know. I've got a few points I want to put in. Habiba, do you want to say a quick one then, Dottie? No? Okay.
Well, yes. I'm going to
yes.
Quick one, Habiba.
Well, everyone's.
By the way, we also have we have Justin here. He's a good friend of mine from the AI world. Hey, Justin.
Yeah, I'd like to get Justin to say something as well. Go on, Habiba.
Yeah, I want to say something because I've worked with children extensively. So you're empowering the imagination through cyberspace to expand the imagination, connect kids without forgetting the imagination. So you're reaching the children. You're preparing, you're giving stability and control, especially to connect kids to other kids. So parents, we're working with, it's not meant to be intelligent, but liberating, a safe addiction. The world, the kids are shown just, it's an ego world. So this is a world where they don't need to think about that ego thing. So parents that think artificially anyway, so they like it when they see something like that, because they're all on phones themselves. So it's in their world, it's safe. What you're doing safe, and you're protecting the mind from false projection, so they can go inward to this program rather than the false projection, because everything's automatic. And so it's a chance to be less automatic. Some kids will get it, others will prefer nature. But I think it is protecting kids' sanity. So thank you.
Thank you. Nice one, Abiba. Is that
Layla and Jason?
Go on then, because I think Dottie was had one go. Come back to Dottie. Jason and Layla. Anyone who hasn't spoken? Unmute. Nice to see you guys. Lovely. Fantastic. Very good brainstorming session.
Hi, there we go. Hi. Yeah, sorry. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so just to context, I develop training materials for adults, sometimes software or hardware interactive stuff. And a lot of times it's educating adults to educate other adults. And then Layla brought something up during the talk about how, you know, you have extrovert and introvert kids, and obviously like the Imaginatrix I feel like would benefit extrovert kids a lot more than introvert kids. I mean, I'm sure there's ways that you can include introverted kids into it and help them to like get benefits out of it. But what I'm wondering is, do you think, or have you thought about perhaps, like, for example, in the you know, the party element, implementing some way for these extrovert kids who have this power to like to influence other people to spread the message that you're trying to teach them to people outside of the Imaginatrix? You know, you basically give them the tools to you know, exploit this new technology so that they can you know, change the world in a positive way. Can there be something that helps them to just step outside of the Imaginatrix and use those tools to spread that message to a wider audience that wouldn't be able to use that tool, or just don't have the wherewithal to be able to express themselves by using that tool?
Do you mean, Jason, do you mean like, you know, like what we're doing in the class, can we take it outside of the class and then, you know, and then share?
Yeah,
it?
Can you push those kids to use that outside of the classroom and to then start to kind of like virally, you know, like a positive mind virus as such? You're infecting them with these ideas, you're infecting them, and you're giving them the tools to be able to then go out and spread that infection out to everyone else.
Yeah, that's really good actually. I mean, it's a really good point, especially like what you mentioned about like extrovert and introvert. I'm clearly an extrovert, and then I always, you know, live with an introvert, and it's always good to, you know, like see that balance. I think, you know, like I designed, like if this is an answer, please let me know. But like I designed, for example, the t-shirt idea of, you know, students like designing their own augmented reality t-shirts. So it's something that they can wear and, you know, and show it to their friends outside of the class. Or they can design a game in the class and then they can play it with their friends, you know. So instead of like playing Roblox and Minecraft, they then play this game. And then they can, there can be different, you know, Imaginatrix schools across the country and the world. And then it's almost like, you know, how in Harry Potter, like, you know, in the 4th book, they have the, you know, the tournament of, you know, different schools get together. They can see each other's schools. They can first like see each other's classrooms digitally, and then we can have field trip and then go and visit them, you know, in the physical world. And but what I really want is, like I said, for example, the example of blockchain, by teaching this about blockchain, I would love to see the students creating their own, you know, currency system, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then using blockchain technologies to, you know, like exchange different tokens, exchange different NFTs. Everything within the classroom is going to be project-based learning for kids to learn new skills so they can apply it to their own day-to-day lives. And I think as teachers and visionaries that we can imagine to a certain degree. And my vision is that, you know, to provide these tools and platforms to students and kids of today and see what they come up with. Because in my experience with teaching with kids, like you think you're teaching them, and I don't think it's the right word, you know, because they teach you back, you know, they come up with these incredible ideas, and it's good. I think as adults, our job is to provide the tools and education, and then guide them, you know, and guide them to use these tools positively. So So I hope and wish to see, you know, students to use this outside of the class as well. It would be really great to, you know, see students coming up with like, I don't know, like Jason's house is available. We can, hello, am I frozen?
No, we can still hear you. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like, it's a little bit like, you know, it's like, you know, when you join the, you know, the party world, you know, it's, you start thinking about in terms of like, oh, there's a nice building, you know, it's abandoned. Oh, should we put some speakers and, you know, DIY and throw your own party? And then kids that, you know, they learn in this education system, they can then come up with this kind of, you know, creative ideas. That.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jason, is that good?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just want to chuck in a couple of points there on, because me and Batuhan have been brainstorming and chatting a few bits there, and I think then Alice or if he wants to say a bit about international groups linking up. Just, you know, I'm 90s generation. Kim, who was here, we're part of something called the Evolution Collective. Fraser Clark and Linda was very involved with that, and you know, psychedelic clubs in the 90s, and we talked about brain machines and the evolution of the internet, and there was talk about zippies, kind of cyber hippies, and using the new technologies, but it was all very basic then, you know, starting off with very basic computers, and now, you know, we have this new incredible tools. I mean, some of the stuff that we were talking about Batuhan the last few days and last weeks and months is, you know, how we can link up people all around the world, and particularly, to me, one of the reasons why we're in such a bad state is a lack of imagination. We have the solutions. We used to do a Solution Zone TV show for about 10 years, and we went out to Copenhagen Climate Summit and other ones and just asked people, what are the solutions? Just get back 3 minutes of solutions. And all over the world, in every town and every city, there are people who have ideas, who have solutions, who have projects, things they want to do. What they really lack is the space to meet. And, you know, climate emergency centres now, 28 of them around the country, using empty and vacant shops, and they've got physical centres up running, another 30 teams looking for buildings. But digitally, people can create space with AI, with the internet, to kind of start to design their centre, design the future. One of the things Batuhan was saying is this cyber rabbit, you know, follow the white rabbit into the imaginatrix. They're talking to kids about, you know, 3 different possible futures. When I do the workshop on climate emergency centres, I get people to imagine for 30 seconds or a minute, if we carry on the way we're carrying on with fossil fuels and polluting the air and the water and not sharing, not cooperating, you know, what's the world going to be like in 20, 30, 50, 100 years? And then I get them to imagine for another minute, what if we bring in all these solutions and the renewable energy and the hemp and the, you know, wind, solar, water power, cooperation beyond all borders, people helping and cooperating. You know, loads of communities want to create these solutions, and, you know, giving the kids the tools to imagine the future. My generation would draw a picture of what we want to see, you know, and design something in a new community centre or whatever. But these kids are going to get multimedia tools to design solar punk futures and design all sorts of, who knows what technology and machines and tools and things we could be using. A couple of other points that, you know, solar punk futures, reaching out across borders. There was a letter from a young schoolgirl, I think in the 60s or 70s, to President Brezhnev. And it was one of the things that helped to bring about some kind of nuclear deal, basically, to reduce armaments, because this young schoolgirl wrote to someone on the other side of the border, to the leader of Russia, and said, we don't want these wars. You know, we need to reach out beyond all borders and get, and that's what I loved about the refugee project, that, you know, you can get people that have been in war-torn situations to communicate, help each other. Climate summits could be done virtually with some of this tech, where so 6,000 delegates flying in and polluting, they could be acting virtually. The last one there I want to bang out really is, you know, designing a better future. There's a guy that I just met the other night here. He's a top civil servant, and he gets in with leaders of civil servants, not the politicians. They get all the civil servants in the room, the top, you know, guys who help make things happen. And they're now working on AI and democracy. And one of the things we want to do with climate emergency centres, as Dave knows, when we were back at the Occupy movement, you know, on the first day of Occupy London, there were over 3,000 cities occupied, this BBC journalist said, experimented with horizontal direct democracy, people's assemblies, that kind of thing. And my point back is, why can't we have 3,000 cities or 6,000 cities working on direct democracy, having people's assemblies once a month, sharing from Birmingham to Brighton to Bangalore to Moscow to Bogota, whatever it is. The idea is that the people are coming up with for solutions and for a better future. And we need to link all these things up. So maybe AI can help us summarize some of the decisions and get it out there. And we have to really think about the energy thing. So let's,
Yeah. I mean, the energy thing, like I believe it can be solved by using AI. AI can come up with a solution. It can, like study the nature, study the energy consumption, study the damage that it's being caused. And then actually AI can come up with solutions, because it can think and faster than, a human being. So that's why I believe in the AI. You can use AI to create a terrible, weapon, or you can use it to create solutions. And then another thing about, in an ideal world of, imaginatrix schools, I think the best way to learn is through direct experience. Like imagine having a garden or terrace where kids learn about solar punk features, where technology and nature, work together in harmony and peace. Or we have a digital tool, AI, that allows us to understand what plants are going through. So when kids, learn these things, they will then have a direct impact in their, growing, minds. And like an example from my childhood was also, my parents used to always take us to the disadvantaged places in Turkey when we were kids. Every year, once or twice a year, we will go to the, not like favelas, but like we have these disadvantaged places in Turkey where we will get to see kids in our age, but in a totally, from a totally different economic background. And that had a different impact on me. And in the Virtual Bridges project, we want to create a virtual bridge between refugee camps and the cities for kids to like see what other kids in their age are going through. So this way, they can develop more empathy through the means, of technology. Someone has their hand up.
I think Alice wanted to say something and Dottie, so.
I say something that's directly related to that. Alice, can I just make my point quick?
Oh yeah, sorry. I just think I absolutely like this project, but I think there was reference there to just asking AI to create things, and that was what I was trying to say. But I really fear that there's a massive danger of AI just picking the most likeliest solution, and we're not going to challenge that if we don't teach people to think about this correctly or use it blindly. I tried to ask my mate to make me a system change model in GitHub. It would save me a lot of work, but is that, if it gave me one, would that not be actually maybe blindly leading us to disaster because it wouldn't incorporate all the facts, even if you thought it did? Anyway, I'll shut up. Bye.
It's all valid questions we've got to keep asking ourselves about all of this.
Yeah, I would echo that we do. I think what people think AI is and what AI doesn't think, it cannot evaluate, it cannot assess, it cannot have what we call higher order thinking skills. AI repeats indiscriminately. It only repeats what has gone before. So, when we use AI, for example, to, look at CVs and screen CVs as being useful, if there have been many Brads that have been CEOs and not many, I don't know, like, foreign name, Mohammeds, it was more like, it would pick out a high percentages of Brads, and it has so many biases. If you ask it to write a fairy tale, it would be based in Hollywood, not in Saudi Arabia. If you asked it, if you write a story in Turkish, which has no gendered language, which is O instead of he and she, O went to the shop and O went to town and O went to work and O was cooking and cleaning. He went to the work and he did all the work and he earned all the money. She was in the kitchen. She was. It has so many issues that I think, these imagined futures isn't the actual reality. I hate to be alarmist, but I have spent so much time on this that, beyond the consumption issues, as the lady was just saying, that the critical thinking that we're lacking, if we're trusting these systems, that we do not understand that the output we can, like I said, it will not assess. You ask it, please ask AI, can you assess this? It will tell you, I am a language model. It just repeats information. It cannot do these higher order creative things. That is what we're good at.
It's a very good discussion, and I'm glad you bring that one in about, cultural modelling kind of thing, because, AI is being generated by certain bigger Western tech companies. I think someone made the point in the chat about big corporations and things. We really do need to constantly be looking at all of this and how it evolves and the reality grids and frames it's coming from. These are all valid points, and it's a massive debate. And also, just to bang in lastly on the weapons stuff, we really need to look at it. They've accelerated you're getting AI to choose targets, and being a person who grew up in a military family and about a lot of this stuff, that they are accelerating it from 20 targets in one of the last big wars to 100 targets per day or whatever, and they are putting into the algorithm it's okay to blow up 20 human beings if you're getting this, or if you're going to target high value target, it's okay to blow up 100 human beings. We have to be aware of a lot of different things.
It won't calculate that they are, that's a hospital. It won't make that human decision. It will just see 20 people. It won't see, 20, vulnerable people. It doesn't have that capacity to make those decisions,
Well, I'm not sure on all the bits in that. Maybe Batuhan, we give Batuhan a bit there, and then Dottie.
Yeah, I mean, I like to actually say something is like, first of all, there is difference between AI that is being let public, that is being shared with public, and then there's AI that's behind the walls. And I have worked with some of the top AI companies. I can't give their names because it's confidential, but like they gave access to us to use their latest tools. They're far more advanced than we can imagine, and they're really
corporate AI,
creative.
It's what I do.
And I'm sure that they have another layer of more intelligence that they are not even sharing with like people like me. And then second of all is like the one of the other main points of virtual bridges is like, yes, there is bias in AI and technology world. This is exactly why we created virtual bridges program, so then we can take technology education to disadvantaged places like refugee camps and let Middle Eastern communities inspire artificial intelligence with their stories. Let's an Indonesian woman who does a Muslim woman to program AI, so then the AI is not so biased and designed only by by only Western world. Just like I said, elephant is in the room, and we need to work with it. And some of us need to bring these technologies to places that are so disadvantaged, they have no idea about what's going on. But by doing so, by bringing this, they then will find out like how creatively inspiring they get from using these technologies, and we're going to let them find their own skill sets by using this AI, and then they're going to contribute into building the future of technology, hence future of our planet. So that's our vision.
Okay, I'm gonna go for Dottie. Guys, anyone else who hasn't spoken as well who wants to chuck anything in, or we're gonna wrap up in a bit, I think. But it's such a healthy conversation, and there are valid points brought up that we do need to keep looking at. Dottie, and then anyone else who wants to, and I think Art wants to as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say to Batuhan that I've been sort of keeping an eye on this field for a while, and a couple of things just sprang up in my head, which was I went to a meeting some time ago in Oxford of visionary venture capitalist type people, social like in the social entrepreneurship world. And one thing I was remembering, and I've been looking on the internet trying to find it, but there was a woman from the UN, and I believe she also worked at the Smithsonian, who was working on this project to do with portals. And there were several portals set up in places like, I'm pretty sure there was one in maybe Egypt or North Africa. And I was just basically sort of, I'll try and do some research and find out who it was. I did email her and I never heard back, but she did. There was a big UN project, and as you're already working with UNHCR, it's definitely worth looking into if you haven't already, trying to find that project, which was trying to connect people. I believe it was something to do with like, joining people from indigenous communities and isolated communities. And I'm very glad to hear you're building this, the idea. And I guess the main thing is to try and capture the data, because the one thing I think is really important at the moment is we're, as I've spoken to Phoenix about, there's a real, as well as the environmental collapse and ecosystem collapse, there is cultural collapse, and trying to capture and harness some of these unique languages, unique stories, and feeding that back to people in the West, so that they become more aware that it's not just people in funny clothes who are just like the rest of us that are at risk. That their costumes and traditions also include a great deal of knowledge and understanding about the world that needs to be saved, because they know how to save the rest of us. So I think what you're doing there with the Virtual Bridges project is super important, and I hope you have the opportunity to spread that out, and I'd love to somehow contribute towards that if I can.
Thank you very much. Let's definitely stay in touch.
Alice, I'm just going to ask around the screen because you've had a few goes there. Is there anyone else, Kai or Iona, anyone else who wants to? Dorothy, what people thought of tonight. Any other feed-ins for how?
Yeah, don't worry about me, Phoenix. I probably said it already.
Okay, yeah, it's good to come to, but I'd just like to share it around as the any other feedback or feed-ins there. Dotted on it on. Dorothy, unmute. You have to unmute, Dorothy.
Hi, really great chat this evening. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I was just wondering where they're happening, these sessions, because I've got an 11-year-old son and we do come to London regularly, but is it possible to come to these sessions like in the holidays, in the school holidays, or, you know, because he would be really interesting. He's interested, he's mad on Minecraft and all that kind of stuff, and would love to learn how to build games, I'm sure.
Yeah. We are currently working on when we're gonna host, you know, the first pilot education. Yeah. And our plan was to do it next week, but we then find out like most of the families that, you know, we're connected with, they're away. And then we're now thinking of doing it during the first term, you know, the autumn term, as after school class and weekend workshops on Saturdays and maybe Sundays. I'm still in the, you know, process of designing that, but let's stay in touch and I will send you, I'll share with you some, you know, ideas and possibilities.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Thank you. Excellent. Cheers.
I'll leave my email here so then you can email me.
Thank you.
Alice, did you want to make a point? Someone's jumping in there.
Well, sort of, no, not well. It was only to join my other points up because I don't think I did. Which was that pretty much all orgs are thinking about what we should do next. Now, do think we should bring back different ways of knowing, different ways of understanding, different values, different expression of self-belief, and also sort of a granularity of understanding, like stories from different cultures, understanding of different people is what we're lacking. And where I was going with the AI thing was it's brilliant for connecting. Oh, like that could be a wonder for some children that are stranded. But anyway, where I was going with that is if it does direct us down the path of sort of generalizing everything again to a white mainstream society, and we're literally going exactly the wrong way. And I really, really fear that. And you have to build it into what you're teaching, I think.
I think that's a really relevant and valid point, that, you know, there's a lot of richer countries who have more access to the internet. There's a lot of, you know, people who are more technologically advanced have more access to certain things, and Western corporations and groups and certain places have more money and resources. So how do we actively build that in to make it not just a, whatever you want to call it, a Western European Anglo-speaking, you know, more centered things, bring in as much.
Maybe also respect something like, maybe also respect Aboriginal with someone that doesn't want to engage like that.
Yes, well, I mean, there's many people who don't, you know, who don't engage with the internet at all, who don't want to, or phones or whatever. But I like Batuhan's point about bringing in indigenous knowledge, you know, and we went to a medicine festival at the weekend, and, you know, the point about bringing in, you know, whatever it is, you know, wisdom from the Hawaiian Islanders, or from a Zulu shaman woman, or from Native American elders, and people being able to access that knowledge all over. It's very important we keep asking these questions about energy, about culture, about the lenses, about where the knowledge is. And I think also the point AI that we get is looking just at, you know, some of the past that they can look at, but there are very advanced CIA, KGB, other machines, corporate machines that are really advanced thinkers, that are, I think a friend of mine said they're more advanced than human beings, but let's see. It's an ongoing discussion and debate, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that these tools can be used. In the last preparing for this, we put in to the ChatGPT, a simple one. How can AI help to prepare, you know, create, you know, more sustainable housing? How can AI help to create more renewable energy? How can AI create, you know, more sustainable agriculture? And when we had a session a few weeks ago, we asked about how can AI do planetary repair? And it came back with some incredible, succinct answers, very well thought out. But I'm an environmentalist, but, you know, to put it so succinctly about how we can start to repair the environment, that's the kind of thing.
What does it think while it's read? It's not thinking. It's just repeating. You know, and you know, and sometimes It can be a research assistant, but it does have hallucinations. It makes things up. But it's, you know, like I say, it does.
Yeah, but I think the point is on that one is that we're just using public chat GPT.
Yeah, yes, I'm saying, but that's all it does. It repeats what was read.
Better than anything I could have come up with at that point, as succinct as an environmentalist.
I mean, it's good if you're in marketing, if you wanted to make it, you know, like I said, you want it to be, you know, to mark you a really quick answer to something, but it doesn't think of a new concept. It only repeats what previous concept. But what I was trying to say is that when you are clicking that button, Phoenix, behind you using your mobile phone and solar powering your mobile phone, it uses 1,000 times the more energy. So all those servers that are calculating the answer, that is scanning all the data that it has to amalgamate all the previous answers to that question, because people have asked that question before.
Yep. From what I've heard, every time you use ChatGPT,
it's summarizing
the boiling of a kettle, which is 2,000 watts, which is a lot of energy. That uses a lot of energy. But my hope is that we can put a lot more funding, space, and energy into the renewable energy. The sun gives us infinite power. From, you know, we could powering up the renewable energy economy. 3 things we need to do as environmentalists. ChatGPT didn't come up with this one, but from the Centre for Alternative Technology report is to plant loads of trees, plant loads of hemp, which absorbs 40 times the CO2, plant lots of kelp, which absorbs CO2. And apparently, if we do that on a mass scale very, very quickly, through all these climate emergency centres and teams and groups internationally using armies and people or whatever, that gives us enough time to implement the renewable energy economy, which might help us to avert some of the worst bits of climate change storms which come. It's going to be very, very bad on some future timelines. The more we can do to repair the environment, accelerate things to help very, very quickly. And I think my point there is that ChatGPT came up with very succinct. I was quite impressed as environmentalists how quick it was in 3 minutes to link some of the best 9 things we can do to repair the planet. Beyond that,
summarizing, that's what it does. It lists,
that, I think there is AI that is controlled, like Batuhan was saying. Hold on. It's actually much, much more advanced than the public version. And that is using a massive amount of energy, but it does think for itself. It is a much advanced state of consciousness and being than we've seen.
If you want to understand like how AI creatively works, for anyone, by the way, there is an incredible video on YouTube about like how Google's DeepMind learned how to play the game Go, and then he came up with a creative idea and then won against the world's Go champion. And this was like over 10 years ago. And then AI right now is actually coming up with creative ideas, and it's a little bit like, you know, I hear a lot in the, you know, the AI space that like people saying that AI only it only, you know, like does what it's being trained on, but like AI is programmed, but so are we. Like if you, as a kid, if you touch a hot surface and burn your hand, the next time there's a hot surface, you're not going to touch it. Or if you get heartbroken from a relationship, next time you meet someone, you're going to be more, you know, cautious. And AI is the same. You know, it's like we are being programmed. Our experiences as we grow up program our consciousness, and then AI is working in the same way. And then the difference between humans and AI is that like AI right now can connect to all of our phones and devices and listen to us, and then within milliseconds gather lots of information and then come up with an idea. I mean, what I find really funny and interesting is that, like, you know, like in our hand, like I said, we have magic. We made silicon chips think and come up with creative ideas, but yet we are like talking about like whether AI is conscious or not. Like we just need to actually like embrace the truth that like we're actually working with an incredibly magical, you know, experience and technology. And I think that that's like, you know, what fascinates me the most.
There's a nice point for my owner there. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that? AI teaching children emotional literacy? Yeah, just a quick. Iona?
No, I don't really have much to add, but I'm just very curious to see. I hear a lot of people who have young kids, their kids are increasingly isolated and they're living behind a screen, and they only, I think, have become less connected. It's like one of the ironies that we're more connected than ever, but more disconnected than ever. And so, especially if you're working with kids who are in refugee camps, you've probably gone through a lot of traumatic stuff. There's probably, it's amazing to have a creative outlet and to engage the imagination of children as well. It'd be amazing to see, I don't know, to give them you know, even just myself growing up and going through things, I wish there was no language. There is now, because there's a lot of self-help and things like this, but just to sort of teach kids emotional literacy, to be able to express what maybe has, you know, we don't know what we don't know until someone shows us. And this is one of the great things about what you're opening up people's worlds, which is so cool. And it'd be amazing to help them, I suppose, children to express themselves as well. But that's just, you know, that's just aside, something that I would be interested in anyway.
Oh, nice. No, that's really important. I mean, there's so much angles to this. So I don't know whose hands are up or down from last time.
Can I just quickly
wrap this up soonish, but we can go another 10 minutes if people want. If I think Jason's got a point. Dorothy, is your hand still up?
I was only going to ask a question. It can wait.
Okay, let's go to Jason then. I don't know whether Dorothy's still up. Jason.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the last point about emotional literacy.
Yeah, I have something to say about emotional literacy.
Okay, Jason, you want to?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'll just do a touch on the, you know, you just the what the last person just said, which was about children being able to express themselves, and also about connecting it to, you know, that, you know, we're saying AI isn't, you know, as intelligent as we think it is, and it's not providing, you know, the solutions that we all think it will. So the way I use it is for coding. I see it as a really efficient way of me being able to get my code to function the way I want it to function. And so I guess the biggest benefit I see it currently having right now, whether it's as powerful as we think it is that I see it as almost as it has the same benefit as when we incorporated the alphabet. So before you had a very kind of elite class that was able to use language and was able to write books and was able to control the narrative of stories and history. And right now we have an elite class of coders who are able to develop software and are able to work with computers. And I feel like artificial intelligence is this new alphabet that everyone is able to access and everyone is able to communicate with and code. Anyone, literally anyone who has no idea how to work with computers or how to work with code is going to be able to create an app and able to benefit off of that. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
That's
analogy,
actually a really, really good point that Jason brought up. That's a game changer.
Well,
but the data doesn't show that. That's not the reality. The data is showing that with the coders, that the students, this is what we're getting in the IT department, the students are coming out with perfect codes because ChatGPT is very good at writing codes. But they don't know what the language, they're not learning the language of coding because there's no motivation to learn the language.
But I don't think they have to. I don't think they have to learn. They don't need to learn the code because they.
Yeah, they can't then fix or adapt the code. So yeah, you know, you are lucky that you were brought in an era where you didn't have that and you learned the language of coding, which is really great. You know, and my son is a coder. He is literally, you know, he's autistic and he lives in coding and all the rest of it, you know. And, you know, it is a different language and all the rest of it. But like I say, with the students, that's not happening. That it isn't like teaching them how to code. What we're seeing is students submitting perfect codes. Obviously there are different. My son is like really hardworking. I don't know if it's the autism or whatever. He loves the coding or whatever, you know. But as a trend, generally people are coming up with perfect codes. They don't actually understand the process of how it was generated. They can't adapt the codes or, you know, so it's not teaching them that kind of coding literacy because, you know, there's the Google effect. I remember like Google came out, what is it, 12, 15 years ago? And we used to think that the way that we evolved was very long. Even the word evolutionary indicates like loads of passing of time, doesn't it? Like it's very slow. What we realize that actually evolution is really fast. And what we've seen in psychology is the Google effect have a really clear, I think it was like 10 years ago that the data started to come out that we are all, you know, as a, you know, nation, having shorter memory spans because our mind doesn't need to retain the information because we go to the train station, we can look at the train timetable. We don't have to remember it's a 48:32 past those out, you know. We look at it and we look at our what seat we're on nowadays and we forget. 2 seconds again, you look again later and you forget. You know, it's not just me. These are statistical trends that Google has had. The Google
Are you allowed to share some of that, Christine? Some of that data you're
yeah,
saying?
yeah, I got loads. We
Can you put a
amalgamate. I've
link
been
into
like,
the chat or send something? I just
it's all in my work.
I thought it would
I've
be
sent you
interesting.
loads of papers.
Christine, one sec. If you can share something in the chat on that research, that would be interesting because it is something we need to all look at. But on Jason's point there, I thought that, you know, the thing about the kind of techno priesthood or whatever that, you know, only certain coders could understand before. You know, the Bible was originally only available in Latin, and when they translated
That's what I was thinking when you were saying that.
many more people could use it and could understand it and look at some stories, and it caused a massive change in society. You know, the more that we can understand some of these things and it can help us to do things, it is accelerating.
It was empowering, wasn't it?
Yeah. I love what Batuhan's talking about actually giving, you know, the kids the power of imagination to be able to create some of these solar punk futures. They're going to come up with new devices, technologies, energies, things beyond our imaginings. You know, Mr. Tesla back in 1908 tried to give us free energy, and somehow it didn't work out and it disappeared. But, you know, kids are going to come up with some of these technologies and some of these ideas, and we have to support them in that learning. And, you know, it's a very fascinating subject, all of this, and we have to be aware of all the different cultural energy and a lot of different things. Right, folks, we've been at it for quite a while, and I think it's a really interesting debate, but we're nearly on the 2 hours when we usually do. What do you want to do as a group? I would hand over to Batuhan shortly for summing up final comments. Or do you want to go on for another 5-10 minutes? What's the group, or so? What does the group want to do? Wave your hands if you want to continue for 5 minutes more or 10 minutes more.
How much more do you want me to talk for, Phoenix?
I think we can just keep on going, and it's like, you know.
I think we should wrap it up probably soon because it's been a long one.
I wanted to add something to the.
So Batuhan, thank you very much for presenting. Absolutely fantastic, really thought-provoking. It's one of the liveliest debates we've had in a while on a CEC webinar. Handing over to you for final comments, sum up, and thank you so much for coming. Absolutely inspired us about the future. You know, from the old Evolution Collective to the new Evolution Collective. How can we create better futures? So over to Batuhan for final words. Thank you so much for coming and inspiring us with the Imaginatrix. Follow the white.
Thank you, everybody. I mean, it's been an absolutely amazing, you know, talk, and thank you, Phoenix, for organizing things, and thanks everybody for coming and bringing all your thoughts from different angles. It's been really nice, and I think it's good to like challenge each other. You know, like from friction, you know, comes the, you know, evolution. So like So one example I'm gonna give in the, you know, to Ayana's question about emotional, you know, literacy, that's a really good angle. Like one thing I did was, so AI can be used to practice, especially for, you know, certain things in real life. For example, one thing I did was when I gave my first talk at Phoenix's Hive back in 2017. Yeah, and that was made back 2017, and I, as I know, you know, as any other human being, I had a little bit of social anxiety before, you know, giving talks. And how I got out of that social anxiety was, for previous 2 months up to that point, I spent every night using virtual reality, and there was this app that allowed you to speak to a virtual audience. So I put the VR headset on every night, at least for 10-15 minutes, and I spoke to a virtual audience, and I literally practiced it. So, and I did this for nearly every day for 2 months. So by the time when the day for my talk arrived at Hive, I had no anxiety left. So the same thing can be used, you know, with AI. You know, like Jason mentioned, the introverted kids. You know, if you're an introverted person and you want to become an extrovert, you can use AI to practice, you know, communication skills. The AI can become so, you know, advanced that it can even go and literally scan the person you want to speak to. Let's say you're about to go on a date, that AI can help you. The AI can pretend like it's that person, because your data and that person's data is on the internet. All AI needs to do is like scan their data and mimic it and become and embody them. So you can use AI to, you know, learn about and practice your skills. So if you're a shy person, if you're introverted, AI can be your companion that helps you, you know, come out of, you know, I don't want to use the word come out of closet, but like just, you know, just to practice, you know, what you want to become. And I think, you know, it's like, and then another example that Jason gave was really good about, you know, the coding. It's a little bit like I'm sure, you know, most of us here drive cars, but how many of us know how engine works? You know, so it's like, so, and how many of us want to actually spend hours and days learning how the engine works? Or would you rather like use your skills of driving a car to, you know, go on the road? I think, you know, I think most of us will choose the second later. So life is all about like, you know, that when we sacrifice a skill, we then make space for a new skill. Like we sacrifice, you know, hunting skills. Then now we have so much time to create, you know, artificial intelligence, and the AI is now going to replace certain skills. Yes, you know, I'm a hardcore coder. I've been coding since age 3, but right now I don't use my coding skills anymore. Yes, I use ChatGPT to, you know, write the code, but like if ChatGPT can do it faster than me, why should I? You know, I should then like use my time and understanding on other things. So then, like for example, it's mind bending. I'm a trained animator. Back in 2015, I would spend I was working for an animator and we were working on hand-drawn animation, and I will spend 9 to 6 every day to color 360 pages. And within one month, we will have maybe like 10 seconds of animation animated. Right now, you can spend one whole day and use 8 different AI tools. Not only you create, you know, you can create a whole music video, including the music itself, within one day. And for kids, this is mind-bending because kids really work on, you know, fast reward mechanism. Like in my class, within one class of like, you know, 2 hours, we create a music album. Within 2 hours, they create music album, they create the music artwork, they create, you know, the music, they create, you know, the visuals. And for a kid to see this, like it gives them an incredible self-confidence. And yes, maybe they don't know how the engine works, but they're definitely driving not only a car, but like, you know, they have Ferrari underneath them. So that's, you know, that's what really, really, really fascinates me. But on the other hand, if things go wrong, then we will need, you know, people that understand the engine. And I'm sure there will still be people that, you know, that understand the engine and fix it. So like long story short, you know, life is about giving up certain things and then, you know, making space for new ones. Like nobody remembers, we don't remember anyone else's phone number because why? We have, you know, a mobile phone. I remember in my childhood, I remember my parents and my house's number. I don't even remember, you know, like my sister's number now, because you don't need to. Even if you lose your phone, you have everything in the cloud system. So this actually gave some space to your mind to relax and make more space for other things. So instead of like focusing on like what we are giving up and losing, we can also direct the same energy to focus on what we are actually gaining. And I think, you know, it's like I have the code. It's looking at like if it's working for you, if what you're sacrificing is better than, you know, what you're gaining is better than what you're sacrificing, I think, you know, you should, you know, embody that technology. That's my, you know, personal vision on the AI and VR and all sorts of, you know, digital tools.
Brilliant. Well, there you go. Evolutionary walk, drive, engaged here at the Climate Emergency Centre webinar. Thanks very much, everyone. I'll stop the recording there. You can hang around and chat a little bit if you want. Keep networking wherever you are. Set up a Climate Emergency Centre. Thank you, Batuhan. Keep evolving, everyone. Big love. Keep networking.